You know those moments when other parents breeze through playground chaos while you feel every shriek in your bones? When a simple bedtime routine leaves you more exhausted than it should? Well, if this is the case, you might be experiencing parenthood through a fundamentally different nervous system, one that processes the world with exceptional depth and intensity. This is a biological reality for about 20% of the population, and it changes everything about raising children. This summary explores why some people feel family life so much more intensely than others. You'll discover the science behind your deep processing and overwhelming exhaustion, and why traditional parenting advice often backfires for you. More importantly, you'll learn what actually works instead. By the end, you'll see how the qualities that make parenting harder are also what make you irreplaceable. Your ability to feel everything so deeply is precisely what allows you to connect with your child in ways others cannot. For about 1 in 5 people, a heightened experience of the world is a normal, innate biological trait. Think of it as a fundamental difference in your nervous system's operating system, one that processes the world with more depth and intensity. Understanding this blueprint is the first step to turning what feels like a daily struggle into your greatest strength as a parent. The cornerstone of this trait is a mind that engages in deep processing. This is your brain's default setting, to thoroughly chew on information, connect it to past experiences, and explore every angle before acting. Picture another parent grabbing a new brand of snacks for their toddler at the store without a second thought. You find yourself instinctively pausing. You're scanning the ingredients for allergens, considering the sugar content, remembering an article you read about artificial dyes, and weighing whether this new choice will cause a meltdown later. This is your system automatically running a complex analysis to make the best possible choice. A mind that processes so deeply needs exceptional raw material to work with. That's where your heightened sensitivity to subtleties comes in. You're built to notice the small things others miss. You can distinguish between a baby's cry of hunger and a cry of tiredness, long before anyone else catches on. You sense your seemingly happy teenager is struggling with a friend at school, based on nothing more than a slight shift in their tone of voice or the way they put down their backpack. This constant stream of subtle cues gives you a uniquely rich picture of your child's world. When you're taking in so much information and processing it so thoroughly, you start to feel things more powerfully too. Every emotion gets amplified. The warmth of a tiny hand in yours, the sound of your child's genuine laughter, or a moment of connection can fill you with joy that feels almost electric. This emotional vibrancy fuels your deep attunement and the powerful bond you share with your child. Of course, your nervous system gets overstimulated more quickly than others. Your system is consistently doing triple the work. Just like any finely tuned engine running at high capacity, it needs more downtime to avoid overheating. The same sensitivity that makes you such an attuned parent also means you need more recovery time. That's the deal. So what happens when this finely tuned nervous system actually collides with the daily reality of raising kids? You end up living a strange paradox, experiencing the most profound love and connection you've ever known, while simultaneously feeling more stressed and exhausted than ever before. This makes perfect sense once you understand the overwhelm equation, your innate sensitivity constantly interacting with the uniquely high demands of raising a child. Let's start with the sheer sensory onslaught. Your home, once a sanctuary, has become a zone of constant layered stimulation. A child's cry happens while the television plays, the washing machine hums, and another child asks you a question. For your nervous system, this is a flood of data that must be processed, and it quickly maxes out your capacity. Same goes for visual input. A floor scattered with toys is more than a mess to clean up later. Your brain instinctively tries to track and categorize every object, every color, every misplaced block, which becomes an exhausting and unconscious mental task. Even the loving, constant physical touch from a child who needs to be held, carried, and snuggled can, by day's end, leave you completely touched out, desperate for your own physical space. Then there's the emotional input, which might be even more draining. Remember that deep empathy we talked about? You absorb your child's feelings. You act as an emotional lightning rod for your family. When your toddler has a full-blown tantrum in the grocery store, you're feeling a powerful, second-hand surge of their raw frustration and helplessness in your own body. When your child comes home heartbroken over a playground squabble, their sadness seeps into you, and you carry it with them. This empathy makes you an incredibly compassionate parent, but it's also profoundly depleting. You're constantly processing your own emotional landscape plus the intense, unfiltered emotions of your child. Day after day, these two forces, constant sensory input and intense emotional absorption, lead to burnout. And we're talking about real burnout here. Deep physiological depletion, where your nervous system is simply fried. You have nothing left to give. You might find yourself snapping, withdrawing into silence, or giving in to demands just to make the stimulation stop. In those moments, guilt floods in. You think you're failing. But here's what's actually happening. Your system has reached its absolute limit. The problem is the fundamental mismatch between your finely tuned wiring and the chaotic, high-demand, emotionally charged environment of parenting. You haven't failed. You've been running a marathon at sprint pace, and your body is telling you something has to change. So you've identified the mismatch. You're running a high-performance engine in an environment that constantly threatens to redline it. What now? The focus shifts from self-blame to strategic maintenance. Thriving as a sensitive parent has nothing to do with developing a thicker skin. It's about learning the art of self-preservation, consciously building a buffer zone around your nervous system. Think of it as creating a personal sanctuary that allows you to be the calm, present parent you're meant to be. For you, this is an absolute necessity, and it's built on two foundational pillars. The first pillar is the mastery of boundaries. For your nervous system, saying a gentle but firm no is an act of profound self-care. It's a crucial tool for regulating the flow of stimulation that comes at you all day long. Consider the casual invitation for a playdate. Your child is excited, and the other parent is lovely, but you can already feel the drain of the coming experience. You remember last week, the cacophony of shrieking children, the mental energy of making small talk while refereeing toy disputes, and the inevitable exhaustion that left you irritable and impatient by dinner time. Learning to say, "That sounds so fun, but we'll have to catch you next time," is a strategic choice to preserve the patient, loving parent your child needs for the quiet moments later, for the homework help, the bedtime story, and the deep connection you both crave. This practice extends to your inner world too. It means setting a boundary with your own perfectionism, consciously deciding that 20 minutes of quiet stillness for yourself is more valuable for your family's well-being than a perfectly tidy kitchen. The second pillar is giving yourself permission to accept help. The single greatest obstacle to this is often deep-seated guilt. That persistent feeling that you should be able to handle it all on your own, especially when you see other parents who seem to manage effortlessly. But comparing your needs to those of a less sensitive person is like comparing the fuel requirements of a race car to a family sedan. You're running on different hardware and have different needs. You must reframe help as essential maintenance. Help can take many forms. It might mean having a frank conversation with your partner so they understand that you need them to take the kids to the park for an hour on Saturday morning. And here's the key. You need this so you can experience the profound and necessary restoration of being alone in a quiet house. It might mean budgeting for a cleaner once a month, or using childcare for a few hours a week as a bridge back to yourself. This is a mark of incredible self-awareness. It's the wisest investment you can make in your capacity to be a present, joyful, and deeply attuned parent. Creating essential breathing room is a monumental step, but it also reveals a new challenge. Even in a quiet house, when the external chaos subsides, your sensitive mind is rarely still. This is where the inner work begins. Learning to navigate the two powerful currents that run through your internal world, the weight of decisions and the intensity of your emotions. First, there's the matter of choice. Because your mind is built to process things deeply, every decision can feel freighted with immense significance. You're choosing a preschool, you're poring over educational philosophies, cross-referencing parent reviews, and trying to intuit the emotional vibe of a classroom, all while projecting years into the future to imagine the long-term impact on your child's spirit. This can be paralyzing. The fear of making a mistake, of choosing the wrong path and letting your child down, can lead to anxious indecision. The relief comes from intentionally lowering the stakes. Embrace the idea of the good enough choice. Remind yourself that parenting is a long series of open-book tests, each one teaching you something new. Most decisions are reversible. The sleep training method that's causing tears all around? You can change it. The extracurricular activity that's causing more stress than joy? You can drop it. By building in an exit strategy, you give yourself freedom to experiment and learn. Each choice becomes a simple data point on your parenting journey rather than a potential catastrophe. This same deep processing mind also generates powerful emotional currents, especially guilt and worry. These feelings are often the shadow side of your greatest strengths. You feel that hot, consuming wave of guilt after snapping at your child precisely because you are so conscientious and loving. You worry about their future because your system is expertly designed to anticipate potential problems and protect them from harm. Left unregulated, these emotions can become an inner storm that depletes your energy and joy. The key is changing your relationship with them through compassionate awareness. It begins with a mindful pause. When that wave of guilt or anxiety rises, you learn to simply notice it without judgment. You witness the emotion without becoming it. In that small gap you create, you can introduce a new voice, the voice of self-compassion. You can remind yourself that you're a good parent having a difficult moment. You can acknowledge that you're tired, overstimulated, and doing your absolute best in an incredibly demanding role. This practice won't magically erase the difficult feelings, but it stops them from spiraling out of control. It's how you learn to be a calm harbor for yourself, so that you can be a calm and steady harbor for your child. Think of it as emotional regulation from the inside out. You're creating the stability internally that you want to provide externally. When you learn to become a calm harbor for yourself, when the inner storm of worry and guilt subsides and the waters of your mind become still, something remarkable happens. The very trait that once felt like a liability, the source of so much overwhelm and exhaustion, begins to reveal itself as your most profound and powerful gift. All the hard work of setting boundaries, accepting help, and regulating your inner world clears the way for your true nature as a parent to emerge. At the heart of that nature is the extraordinary gift of attunement. This is the ultimate payoff for your sensitivity. You know the difference between your child being quiet and your child being specifically quiet, whether it's the peace of deep concentration, the ache of loneliness, or the anger of a silent protest. Because you perceive the subtleties and process them deeply, you connect with your child's inner world in a way that's almost telepathic. You're the parent who can sit with a pre-verbal baby and intuitively understand their needs beyond the obvious cries for food or comfort. You're the parent who can listen to a teenager's brief, clipped story about their day and sense the vulnerability they're trying so hard to hide. This deep, resonant connection is what your child will remember, the feeling of being truly seen, understood, and accepted for who they are. It's the bedrock of their lifelong emotional security. This state of attuned presence thrives when you've successfully communicated your needs so that your partner becomes your greatest ally in preserving your energy. They understand that your request for 15 minutes of quiet after they walk in the door is a necessary reset that allows you to be present and loving for the rest of the evening. They learn to see your need for a less cluttered space as a genuine need for visual calm. In this kind of teamwork, your sensitivity becomes a recognized family asset that everyone works to protect because they see the incredible benefits it brings. Your partner starts noticing when you're reaching your limit before you do. Your kids learn that quiet time helps everyone feel better. The whole family ecosystem adjusts to support the person who keeps everyone emotionally connected. The journey of the highly sensitive parent is one of radical reframing. You stop fighting against your nature and start creating the conditions for it to flourish. You learn that your success is measured by how well you honor your limits. You discover that your worth has nothing to do with a constantly tidy home or a packed social calendar. It's about the depth of connection you foster in the quiet moments. By managing the relentless static of overwhelm, you allow the beautiful, clear music of your parent-child bond to be heard. Being a highly sensitive parent, when you learn to honor it, is your gift. The same wiring that makes parenting harder for you also makes it richer, deeper, more meaningful. That's the paradox resolved.